MOTBC, have you got any new stories for Bitcoin, so to say? Right. I know how you want to bring adoption to more than the money people, right? A lot of us got into Bitcoin for money, but there are so many more aspects of life. Like, and I know you're a relatively newer voice on Bitcoin Army Spaces, and I see Bruno made a comment on here. He wants to hear your story, so tell us talk to us more so about yourself and what you're about.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate the interest and the intrigue. I'm a Canadian dude. When it comes to the podcast, it's me and a partner, and we're doxed. My name's Dan. My partner's name is Matt. We're not shy to showing our faces or having our identity out there, but we really choose to be more front. We just want the podcast to shine. This is kind of our what we feel is our contribution to Bitcoin, and like we talked about last time, our contribution to onboarding. And we really want the product to speak for itself instead of who's behind it. There's zero ego involved in this. It's more just how can we contribute meaningful story and meaningful content and culture to Bitcoin to broaden the ecosystem and to really create a better maybe taste in some people's mouths that have only ever consumed normie news and heard Bitcoin talked about as a scam and all these different things, and to try and integrate Bitcoin into everyday stories that can really resonate and relate with the blue collar, white collar, everyday layman. And our first crack at that is MOTBC, which is an acronym, short form for Mysteries of the Bitcoin Citadel, and it's a fiction podcast, full length series about two sisters that inherit a mysterious Bitcoin fortune from their estranged uncle who lived deep in the northern Canadian woods, and kind of exploring Bitcoin inheritance, Bitcoin safety and security in general, online safety and security, OPSEC, self-sovereignty, financial freedom, and a lot of the topics that are adjacent to Bitcoin within a story that hooks people from, again, like the storyline perspective, a mystery, a fiction story. It has curves and turns and things to kind of keep you on your toes, but also, again, Trojan horse, teaching people about Bitcoin and how to do Bitcoin properly if they do want to, get more curious and involved in it. So that the first crack at that was season 1, and we're currently working on season 2. Season 1 was 8 full episodes, about 15 minutes each. So, a good chunk of content, 2 hours worth of listening. And so far been doing pretty well, been received by the space and, Bitcoiners quite well. And also non-Bitcoiners. We've had a lot of people that are well outside of the scope of being a Bitcoiner or even somebody that's Bitcoin curious actually start to kind of pay attention and give this the time of day and learn some things beyond the podcast about Bitcoin, which is the ultimate goal, to create curiosity, get somebody hooked in and have them do their own research and go further down the rabbit hole. And, hopefully consume some of the things we all like to recommend, like the Bitcoin Standard and longer teachings and readings, the white paper itself, but with actual intention and curiosity behind it stemming from the culture products, in this case, the podcast, which actually, again, makes somebody really want to do that instead of just telling them that they should and lecturing them that this is the way, read the Bitcoin Standard, and then go home and throw it on their couch and never look at it again. I think the best way, somebody said it on your space last week, is for people to ask questions. Someone's engaged if they're asking questions, and we want to kind of create the curiosity and intrigue through these fiction stories and culture products so people start asking questions and go further themselves instead of somebody forcing their hand, leading them to the water and making them drink. You just got to bring people to the stream, the orange stream of Bitcoin, and let them have a nice sip themselves, and they'll be around for a long time to come. So that's kind of the 1-2 punch about the podcast. A little bit more about me and my partner. We run PaperStreet Studios, which is kind of our company that's trying to push more Bitcoin culture products, and just really enjoying doing it, man. Trying to get more educated. I'm humble, and so is Matt. Learn more about Bitcoin ourselves through this process, and just try and contribute. Like I said, ultimately, it's a selfless act, just like many others in Bitcoin are building more for others than themselves. And this is an example. We want to give people the tools in their social circles to be able to onboard people and give, again, a new palatable taste of Bitcoin outside of the usual angles we take. So if there's any specific questions, really happy to answer. And ultimately, would just love to throw a quick call to action. If you have some time, go into the link in the bio or any podcast platform that you're accustomed to. That's Apple, Spotify, Fountain for you Bitcoiners out there. And, search up Mysteries of the Bitcoin Citadel. Give the trailer a spin. Give maybe episode 1 a run through. And if it feels like something quality to you, don't do it out of pity. Don't do it out of feeling like you need to because I'm asking you to. If it hits, if it resonates, and it feels like a product that is high quality, talks about Bitcoin, and maybe feels like an onboarding tool, give it a share, give us a review, give us a like, whatever you can do to amplify the podcast. We're really all about value for value. So I'm sure I'll see it, hear it, and try and reciprocate the best I can. And thanks for the intrigue, the interest in who I am, what we're doing, and all the in between. Just happy to have found the Bitcoin Army for this reason. It's hard to get footing in a lot of different spaces. I think Bitcoin especially, and it's been nice to kind of find a little bit of a home or a little bit of a core within the Army.
Yeah, we're happy. The Army's happy to be a springboard for many. I mean, really, we I think that was part of the goal, was to, build up as a small member community. And that's it. It's almost inevitable, right? It's a beautiful thing to be able to propel these accounts for hardworking individuals who, want to do what they want to do. And then especially in relation to Bitcoin, oh my God, like, first off, it's like you're doing it all for us, right? if we all want this network to grow and become, mainstream adoption 100%, hell yeah. I want you to go and talk about it and bring more ears to it. And, and without a doubt, I mean, you can send people our way too, right? It's the same thing, right? You're not. There's no competition here. There's no competition. We all want it. We all want it.
I like what he said with the Trojan horse, like your podcast. Like I thought that was an interesting choice of words. Could you go deeper on that? So it's stories that at first, I want you to share. I would like to.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you kind of picked up on that because realistically, there's a lot of great podcast series, great Netflix shows, series that have caught on really, really deep, globally, almost to a certain degree. And wouldn't it be great to have something just like that has sprinklings, a little Salt Bay action of Bitcoin and actually valuable knowledge and teachings that are nestled into the story very, subtly. It's not just like the whole story is an excuse to talk about Bitcoin. I think that's 9 times out of 10 when people hear about a Bitcoin product or, culture product, music, and they think it's just like this excuse to be kitschy and talk about Bitcoin till they're blue in the face. But I think it should be almost the opposite, where the story should be incredibly good. It's almost like you want like a Walking Dead level story that integrates bits and pieces of Bitcoin. So people are hooked on the story. People want to hear about this fiction story, this thriller, this mystery. Ooh, what happens next? Ooh, I'm intrigued. These characters have me hooked. But also, they're talking about Bitcoin. I don't know much about that. That adds another layer, and it's not overwhelming or, again, distasteful, where it's like, okay, I don't know anything about Bitcoin. Why would I listen to this? Quite the opposite, where people feel like it's a great excuse to hear an awesome story, pass the time on a commute or on their free time when they're trying to relax, but also maybe pick up some bits and pieces about a new topic that they've heard about, but really don't know anything at its core about. So that's where the Trojan horse comes in, is we want to lead with powerful story, with high quality production, with high quality content that integrates Bitcoin in a tasteful way.
Are you leveraging AI to help you? Actually, a question is, are these episodes pre-made or are they week to week, like uniquely created? And then we tack on, there's humans using AI, or are you guys just cooking up just human to human?
So it was kind of like a pre-made series. The season 1 that's now all released, there was a cadence to our release. It wasn't weekly, but I believe we did 3 episodes at a time. So we released chunks so people could kind of binge instead of waiting each week for more episodes. So season 1 is out in its full totality. Season 2 upcoming, I think we'll do a similar cadence. And to answer your question about AI, no major spoilers, but I think anybody with a keen ear and honestly knows production could figure things out. We're definitely utilizing AI and in a powerful way. And I think, again, it might be a spoiler for some, but there's definitely a little Easter egg in the final episode that I had a lot of folks in my personal IRL circles that listen that were kind of blown away by that fact after they found out. So I think doing it in an incredibly tasteful, quality way, but we're not here to like hide anything, man. We're not trying to like dupe people into believing we got, this cast of incredible actors. We made them. I produced the entire thing with my own hands and my own audio DAW. So, some might poke holes in that. I think it's another leverage point, another tool to use and be able to control the voice of your story even more, down to the crack of a stick sound effect in the background. So if you do take some time to listen, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, just keep that in mind. This is a 2-man show. My partner wrote the entire series and I produced the entire audio. So just think about that shoestring budget that, you're able to create Bitcoin products with almost no capital. So I think a lot of people always, when it comes to building and proliferating Bitcoin, you think about having to have tons of capital and all this push and pull from influencers or KOLs or whatever you want to call it. It's not the case, man. It's just, again, if you really want to contribute something to the ecosystem, to Bitcoin, we did this with like a couple $1,000s and really just a passionate dedication to want to see in the ecosystem what we crave, but no one else was creating. We knew Bitcoin culture will drive more adoption. It has to. That's what drives all the trends in the world right now. Memes, music, film, TV, comics, all of those things and everything in between is what creates motion with product, with demand for things, with interest. And if we could leverage that to get more people to think about Bitcoin, to talk about Bitcoin, to feel a different type of way about Bitcoin, I think we're doing ourselves a service at the end of the day. And it's just a matter of time until that stacks up and creates such a high level of volume of culture, content, different types, different varieties, that again, Bitcoin is in so many different rooms and conversations and channels that it wasn't before, that it's a numbers game at that point. It starts to move a wave that wasn't there before, and all started to go back to the root question with that Trojan horse and utilizing the technologies that are blooming right in front of our eyes. So I think, again, trying to keep ourselves sharp as human beings, educate ourselves more on Bitcoin, on technology like AI, and just being on the cutting edge of things whilst doing this all for kind of Bitcoin and trying to contribute what we wanted to see in the space. So that's kind of the MO. And again, pretty transparent about how we're doing things. And we just want people to fall in love with the stories, with the characters, with the people. And again, take that deeper and lead to hopefully some deeper Bitcoin proliferation and adoption.
Yeah.
I've got another question if no one else does. One more.
Keep it going.
All right, sorry. So I am just like kind of fascinated with this whole thing. I think it's a very interesting angle to come at it because, you can Bitcoin podcast and like 2 humans face to face. No problem with that. But I love, the fiction angle. Did you guys go through a bunch of variations and you're like, let's land on fiction. We can write any stories we want, or just fiction. I'm curious what landed on. Like, why'd you land on fiction?
Oh, it's a great question. And like you say, I think the Talking Head podcast it has value, clearly. Joe Rogan and all these different shows that have such a huge pull in the world and such a large audience base. There's value there, but I don't think you can get lost in it the same way. Me and my partner have had separate experiences with fiction podcasts and nonfiction podcasts that we both just like had certain series that really spoke to us, and we fell in love with that world and like got so lost in it that we wanted to kind of recreate that, but with, again, a central core of Bitcoin being kind of the passion root of it. But I think like we've both done Talking Head podcasts and passive at different topics. My partner was big in real estate. I'm a bit of a musician and a rap artist, so I've done those types of things before, but I don't think it's as powerful. Again, like I don't think you can use that term Trojan horse when you're talking about a Talking Head podcast. That's literally just someone speaking to you or to another person and about ideas, about things. And there's value there. Again, I really do appreciate that. We're basically on one right now. We're all conversing, debating, talking, swapping ideas. But I think there's a lower likelihood that you can have someone truly fall in love with those folks. Again, it's not impossible. I'm sure there are some super fans out there of Talking Head, personalities, but it's a lot more likely that, again, think of a show like Walking Dead. I use it as an example just because most people know it. There's so many other series, Breaking Bad, whatever it is that maybe grabbed you and hooked you. It was a fiction story in most cases. It was a made up world that somebody created and conjured, and people really got lost in it and fell in love with the world, the branding, the characters within it, even the catchphrase, like everything to do with it. And that really bleeds into so much more. Game of Thrones is another huge example of something. And if you could create, again, something of that level with Bitcoin integrated into it, I think that's powerful. So that's why we went fiction. We both had experiences of our own that were powerful with story, and over, millennia, over the span of history, story has, even in religion, has been one of the main drivers of adoption, of people understanding larger ideas, of believing in something bigger than oneself due to lore, story, culture building from word of mouth, from, the elders passing down word to the youth, and some of it almost being, fluffed up a little bit to create that fiction vibe that made even more allure, oohing and awing from the younger generations to, again, create that curiosity, dedication, loyalty to the cause, whatever it may be. I think that's why we went that direction, and super glad we did.
I love it. I love those fiction stories. You got me thinking about it. You definitely.
That is interesting. That's how society is programmed.
It's true.
Right.
It makes you think. It makes you
theaters
think, and you enjoy
video,
it.
So.
And this is never to take away from anybody else that's contributing. You know, like there are a lot of great talking head pods and stuff, and like all of that has its place. But I just think from like a larger onboarding perspective, it's going to take something more broad, more dynamic, more meeting we'll call them the customer or the audience member where they are on their couch, on their phone, instead of, you know, trying to reach across oceans and trying to grab them into a realm that they're just not even a part of yet. There's too big of a gap there. And I think if you create some stepping stones in between, all of a sudden they can see the oasis that we've all been talking about, that we all know is there, but just it's a mirage to everybody because the gap is too large. You fill the gap a little bit with some stepping stones of culture, of media touch points that they understand. Maybe that's even memetics. Maybe it's not a fiction pod. Maybe there's other products that we haven't created yet, but hopefully this one inspires to come out and meets people where they are and they're intrigued enough to go further. And again, next stepping stone.
Yeah, I think the storytelling needs to happen. I think
Bitcoin Army.
story. I was literally is what was going through my head. I'm like, oh man, you know, like I think about the, you know, that's the type of stuff I like. You know, whether it's medieval or something. Look at my picture. Right? Look at my
AI artists.
That would be super cool to see. Right? Like, hey, maybe we can get a little back chat going because I'd love to see something come to fruition. And I know my partner, who's the main writer, has had a whole bunch of different like series ideas percolating. And I'm sure like you know, medieval Knights of the Round Table.
I already got Michelle. Michelle is in my mind. She's running a town in my world, right? In the Bitcoin Army. She's you know, that's it. She's already settled. She's got her whole town ran up, and she's very happy there. She don't got to do much else. You know, like I am already thinking of it. You know, look, Killer Bee's up here speaking. I'm like, okay, Killer Bee's going to be, you know, probably pretty in depth in what I go do. I love it. MotBC, talking about inspiration, man. It's gonna. I feel like it's gonna take a while. Like if I want any kind of story to be real, I'm probably gonna be just a lot of writing and a lot of organizing, probably for a good 6 months to a year, and not really focus on much else in regard to creativity. Maybe I mean you could do. I guess when you get writer's block, you can go do some art.
You can do great things, and especially when you're, you know, around the right people. I think that's one reason me and my partner continue to work together, because we were able to create the first full season from beginning to end in like less than 6 months. So again, technology is creating this powerhouse. We would have, if this was like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, we would have had to hire a production house and spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars to make this a reality. We literally did this with like max $2,000, and the two of us dedicating a shitload of time, to put it lightly, and just hammering it out. And our goal, I'll put it on wax right here on recorded space, and I'm sure my partner would love it, just the commitment, the conviction. Our goal, and we're sticking to it, is to have season 2 out before the end of the year. So 2 full seasons in 1 year of Bitcoin culture content to just show, and again, inspire. The fact that you said you're inspired, I'm going to take that away and to share that with my partner, and that's going to drive us, man. Like that's literally going to be gas recirculating back into our tank to fuel the original engine, because that's what we want more than just our story to do well. Like I said, it's egoless. It could be faceless and nameless as long as people get the core thesis that we have, that Bitcoin culture is the main onboarder. It's the main missing component that we haven't yet given enough time, attention, and capital to. And just imagine, for everyone in this space, just imagine what can be done with a larger budget than $2,000, with many more hands, with an entire village, with the full army, you know, behind it. You can move mountains, man. There's so many whales within Bitcoin that they put a sliver of their capital behind, not ours. I'm not looking for a handout here. I just mean behind Bitcoin culture as a whole. Think about what that does on a global scale.
Yeah, and you know, you catch a story that one of them like, you know, they'd be like, I need more. You're like, what do you mean you need more? This is still in my brain. You need more. Well, you spend time. Whoa, there you go. Like that literally could happen.